For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. K-Man Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The K-Man Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 14th day of August 2019. I trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we again urge you to be extremely cautious, obey the rules of the road, and remember the life you save may simply be your own. That is, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle on the roads of the Cayman Islands. We know that there are some drivers who feel this sense of dominance when they get behind the wheel of a vehicle and they're in control of it. They feel that they're the master. They're the master. To a certain extent, yes, you may be the master, of your destiny, the destination that you're heading. You yourself will determine whether or not you get there safely or not. But you're not the master of all of those other persons who are on the road with you. And you have a certain amount of responsibility to ensure that you do not endanger their lives and their safety as a result of your recklessness. So when you sit behind the wheel of that car and you feel that you're the one with all of the power, no, you're not. So just bear that in mind. We see a lot of operators on the road exercising that sort of feeling on the roads that they're in charge of everything. So just want to remind you of that. Those of you who are celebrating a birthday today or may have celebrated one in the past few days, for those in the past few days, belated happy birthday. Anyone celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you, and we hope and trust that your faith will help to carry you through these most challenging times. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. This morning, again, it is that radio voice of Silver Fox, Mr. Paul Akai. You can call us on a toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. In the event you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at fortherecord one word, for the record, at candw.ky. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where you can leave us a text message or send us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. In the studio with me this morning, we have Dr. Steve McField. We will also be joined by Miss Theresa Pitcairn. She will join us as well. I don't believe that Honorable Mayor Lawrence will be able to join us this morning, but who knows? Maybe I'll get a surprise. But I believe that she may be off island. Not too certain of that, but we certainly will have. We do have Dr. Steve McField, and Miss Theresa will be joining us as well. So, without any further ado, Doc, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning to you, Mr. For the Record, and good morning to all your listeners, and for the Mr. For the Record land locally, and those that are in the diaspora, and those that are not in diaspora but are still listening to you all over the world. Good morning to you, and good morning to all of those people.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. We're going to continue our discussion about the referendum here in the Cayman Islands. To me, that is one of the most topical issues that's dominating the not only the airwaves, but I'm sure around the water coolers at in the various offices and everything else. The UK has their Brexit. We have our referendum, and again, we've had a couple of referendum here in the Cayman Islands, and this one is the first. If we do have it, it will be the first people's initiated referendum. We have talked about and will continue to talk about the lack of legislation in regards to referendum, and what that lack of legislation has done in terms of hindering, not necessarily hindering the process, but certainly retarding the process, because in some instances you almost have to make it up as you go.
Oh, definitely. It's the lack of a referendum law actually impedes the progress. Not only impedes the progress, but it does not set out the parameters and the fundamentals of how a people's referendum should be held. Mm-hmm. That is the problem with us. And as I was coming down this morning, and you were saying to me, that's what we're going to discuss. Mm-hmm. I was trying to find an analogy in which I could use to describe where we're at now. And then I saw all these many all these vehicles that we call buses, mm-hmm. which are not buses at all. They are actually taxis, because buses have is defined. It has a particular characteristics. Usually, it's a comfortable vehicle to carry passengers mm-hmm. from one place to the other. The route is defined and scheduled, and the buses don't stop at every place where people can flag them down. That's what a taxi does. A taxi stops at every place where you can flag it down. Buses have designated stops, designated time there's going to be at a particular stop, and that's where it is. If you want to get the bus, you go to a particular stop. You walk to a particular stop and you wait there for the bus, mm-hmm. and you know that it's going to come in such an hour. So what we have is always a Mickey Mouse model of what we see elsewhere, and like that we call those buses, but which they're not. And so we have now the referendum, which we do not have a referendum law for. And it's because we do things halfway. We do not comply with with laws and stuff. For instance, because if you look at Section 70 of the Constitutional Order 2009, mm-hmm. you will see what it says, the People's Referendum Law. And it says, and to read, the opening words of Section 70 says, without prejudice to Section 69, that is the government-initiated referendum section, A law enacted by the legislature shall make provisions to hold a referendum amongst persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90. That's the section in which you have to comply with to be a voter. On a matter of matters or matters of national importance that do not contravene any part of the Bill of Rights or any other part of this Constitution. And it goes on to say, before a referendum under this section may be held, there shall be presented to the Cabinet a petition signed by not less than 25% of persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90. And then says the Cabinet shall settle the wording of a referendum question or questions within a reasonable time prescribed by law. And the Cabinet shall make a determination on the date the referendum shall be held in a matter prescribed by law. And subject to this Constitution, a referendum under this section shall be binding on the government and the legislature if assented to by more than 50% of persons registered as electors in accordance with Section 90. None of those things have been complied with. We don't have a referendum law, so we're going ahead, counting the numbers of petition on the names on the petition, but we don't have any law to guide them of how it should be done. There's no law, and so I wonder whether at this particular stage whether we are even complying with the Constitution, whether it's even lawful for them even to receive the petition when there's no law.
Okay, yeah. Good question. We have to take a commercial break, folks. When we return, the conversation with Dr. Steele Macfield will continue, so please stay tuned. Don't change that dial.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Following a launchpad decade during the 1950s, the 60s saw several major developments as well. In 1961, the local branch of the Red Cross was established. In 1962, following Jamaica's independence from Great Britain, the Cayman Islands decided to remain a crown colony, governed by an administrator who reported directly to Westminster. The Mosquito Research Control Unit began operating in 1965, as well as the formation of the Chamber of Commerce, the publishing of the Caymanian Weekly, the precursor for the Caymanian Compass, and the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman was chartered. In 1966, landmark legislation was introduced to encourage the banking industry. In 1968, Cayman Airways began flying, and in 1969, the Cayman Drama Society was formed. Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Wednesday, August 21 at 4 p.m. You are invited to the grand opening of the new Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center on Seymour Drive. New opportunity, new beginnings, new home for Caymanian youth seeking career training and certification in high-demand trades like automotive repairs, air conditioning, refrigeration, plumbing, electrical, metal fabrication, and more. Come witness, celebrate the cutting of the ribbon. At 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, August 21, another milestone. The Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center, a not-for-profit program successfully training and creating employment alignment since 2010. Purpose and fulfillment.
The dreams of tomorrow stem from the seeds we sow today, whether purchasing your first parcel of land or planning for your future home. These dreams are more than possible with Cayman National by your side. Now offering 100% financing on land loans and home mortgages with only 5% down, up to 35 years or to retirement age. No commitment fee. For more information, contact a personal banker today at personal.banking@caymannational.com or call 949-4655. Plant the seeds of your your future today with Cayman National. Terms and conditions apply, and the offer ends September 30th. Cayman National is pleased to advise that they will have a lending officer at their Cayman Bay locations Mondays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Have you seen the latest?
Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Gym tonight?
I have another test today.
Wow, for somebody who isn't in school, you've had a lot of tests this week.
Well, Vamp Motors is giving out fresh baked cookies to customers who test drive SUVs this month. And since I haven't decided what to buy, I'm just test driving each one to see what I like best.
You better test drive that to the gym and back, especially with all those free cookies you're getting from Vamp.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this August at Vamp Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. Now through the end of August. That's every SUV in stock on sale. Save up to $4,400 or put the savings towards upgrading your vehicle. Sweeten the deal with Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Have you ever felt that there is something bigger out there for you? Something more positive, something more powerful, something all good, something bigger than yourself? Do you want to give back to this community? Your community? Together, Rotary Central, Rotary Sunrise, and the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman are hosting a membership meet and greet social Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. Come along. Bring a friend. Find out what Rotary is all about, what Rotary is doing in your community. So, see you there, Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. We're looking forward to meeting you. Rotary, connecting the world.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me Dr. Steve McField, and we're talking continuing our conversation about the proposed, the prospect of a referendum here in the Cayman Islands. And Dr. McField, you raised a very interesting postulation in relation to the legality or someone questioning the legality of what has been done so far in the process in accordance with Section 70, Section 69, Section 70 of the Cayman Islands Constitution Order 2009. I'm looking at a document here that was produced by the House of Commons Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee, and it has to do in relation to lessons learned from the EU referendum, and this is their 12th report of the session 2016 to 2017. And in it, there is a statement that was made, and it says that referendums are the creations of Parliament and the government. Parliament and the government are therefore accountable and must take responsibility for the conduct of referendum and the fairness of the question, and there should be proper information about and planning for either outcome. The government's response to that was the government agrees that it should take responsibility for the conduct of the referendum and the fairness of the question. It did this by introducing the EU referendum bill and regulations for the conduct of the poll. The Electoral Commission was required to report on the intelligibility of the referendum question, and the bill adopted the wording of the question as recommended by the Electoral Commission. The EU Referendum Act 2015 required the government to publish a report on alternatives to EU membership, which was published in March 2016 as well. So it goes, they have pointed out what they have laid out. It would appear to me that some of these same steps, if we want to have fairness in the process, some of these same steps need to be taken. We hear the people for referendum, talking about additional information, and I think this is where their position on that has some traction.
Well, just suppose that we had a referendum law, yes, and that the referendum law makes provisions to hold a referendum, and all of the parameters for the referendum were set out in the referendum law. Yes. Before the referendum under the sections can be held, that is 72. Three things must be done. Primarily, there shall be presented to the cabinet a petition signed but not less than 25% of persons registered as electors in accordance with the sections 90. I don't know if the cabinet was presented with a petition, because you see, the petition was presented to the governor. The governor is not the cabinet. The petition should have been presented to Mr. Rose, the cabinet secretary. He's the one who makes the cabinet paper and presents the matter before the cabinet. You've been a cabinet secretary. You know that's the procedure. You don't go and give it to the chief executive.
But so because of the fact that the governor chairs cabinet,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You don't think that matters?
No, that doesn't matter.
And even though he and the Premier are the ones who basically set the agenda of for cabinet.
The agenda comes to the cabinet through the.
But the governor, I think under the Constitution, the governor and the Premier.
Yes,
and we can look it up during the break.
But the presentation,
yes,
should have been through the cabinet secretary.
Okay.
That's the right way it should have been done. And then it says the cabinet shall settle the wording of a referendum question on questions within a reasonable time period, as prescribed by law. We have no law now to say when the cabinet is going to set the question after the 25% of the of the voters have been verified. There's no law to say that. And then 3 say the cabinet shall make a determination on the date the referendum shall be held in a manner prescribed by law. There's no date yet. We don't know when it's going to be held. I heard that it's going to be soon after the verification, but there's no date. There's no law.
Because if there was legislation, for instance, that was in place, it may say, just like the Constitution now speaks to the fact that once the House has been prorogued, once it has been dissolved, that an election must take place within a given period of time. That legislation would say that. Would say that.
Just like the election law says that you have to, after nomination, the election has to take place just after so many days after nomination.
Yes.
That's how it should be done. But we have nothing. People are there shooting out the dark and making up things as they go along. Just like the buses that I talk about this morning, stopping at every stop where somebody hails it down and you say you're a bus. That's not a bus.
Yep.
That's a taxi.
Okay. Well, I just want to say a very quick hello and good morning to Miss T. Good morning, welcome. And we're going to our 8 o'clock news now, so that gives us about 12 10, 12 minutes for us to settle in, and we will be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news. So, folks, please stay tuned. Lots of interesting things to talk about, because these are things that affect you. These are matters that you will be involved in, we believe, at some point in time, even if it means down to the day of the referendum when you get out there to vote or whatever, you will be involved in it. So you need to listen, you need to participate. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Radio Cayman time check is now 8 a.m. This time check is brought to you by our friends at Price Right. Live better for less.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Priced Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. The Department of Commerce and Investment names Mitzi Watson-Jervis as its deputy director. More from Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego.
It's a newly created position at the department, and according to a press release, in her new role, Mrs. Watson-Jervis will be responsible for assisting the director in leading, managing, and conducting business operations across various sections of the DCI. She has been with the civil service for over 20 years and has served the department for 4 years as head of business services and licensing, providing direct support to the director in operational, budgetary, and strategic planning and deliverables. In addition, she has been involved with a number of departmental initiatives, including the successful launch of the DCI online portal. Mrs. Watson-Jervis says she's looking forward to providing support for the director in training initiatives, policy, and organizational changes as they continue with a client-focused mindset to lead the way and deliver world-class services. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
791 more signatures to go as of 8 p.m. on Monday. The Elections Office says it now has verified 85.1%. The Elections Office says it has now verified 85.1% of the 5,292 signatures needed to trigger a People's-initiated referendum on the Cruise Port project. Cruise Port Referendum Cayman has turned in 5,663 elector signatures on the petition, and the Elections Office has received 4,501 verification forms to date. The Elections Office has a series of verification locations at local supermarkets, and they're also offering extended hours at the Elections Office for you to have an opportunity to come verify your signature. Find out more at elections.ky. Rotaract Blue partners with the Department of Children and Family Services to provide 90 disadvantaged kids in the community with school shoes for the 5th annual Put Your Best Foot Forward Dress Down Day fundraiser. Vice President of Rotaract Blue, Alana Warwick-Smith.
Rotaract Blue recognized in 2015 that something that wasn't being tackled was school shoes. It assists with the child's their confidence, their development. They're going to school and they're comfortable. They can focus on their education. They don't have to worry about, do I have holes in my shoes? But it's also, there's so many studies that go into the role that shoes play in a child's growth generally.
She says they're currently in the process of collecting the funds, and they're hoping to do the initiative again later this year. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Debbie Russ. Hong Kong police have condemned pro-democracy activists for detaining 2 people during protests at the territory's airport. The police said the captives, one a journalist from mainland China, were tied up, assaulted and humiliated. Beijing has stepped up its criticism of the protesters. Wide-ranging security restrictions imposed 10 days ago in the Indian-administered state of Jammu and Kashmir have been lifted in Jammu. Police said they would continue in the Kashmir Valley for an unspecified time. Angry crowds have demonstrated outside the Japanese embassy in Seoul to mark the day of remembrance for the tens of thousands of Korean women forced to work in Japan's military brothels during the Second World War. Organisers said as many as 20,000 protesters took part. Britain's former Chancellor of the Exchequer has accused government advisers of making it inevitable that Britain will leave the European Union without a deal. Philip Hammond said a no-deal Brexit would be just as big a betrayal of the referendum result in 2016 as not leaving at all. The prisons minister in New Zealand has apologised after the man charged with the Christchurch mosque shootings was allowed to send a letter to a fan in Russia, who then posted it on a right-wing website. Brenton Tarrant recounts his visit to Russia and what inspired his political views. Mohammad Ali Najafi, a former mayor of the Iranian capital Tehran, who was sentenced to death for murdering his wife, has been spared by his victim's family. Her relatives initially demanded that the Islamic law of retribution be applied. They now say they have forgiven him. The Italian city of Genoa has held an emotional commemoration to mark a year since the Morandi motorway viaduct collapsed in a storm, killing 43 people. Several of the victims' relatives struggled to control tears as a choir sang requiem anthems. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman. The best back-to-school sale is now at Reflections. Buy one, get one half price on all back-to-school shoes. Over 100 styles of your favorite brands. Nike, Adidas, Puma, Reebok, and more. Back-to-school savings on shoes for toddlers, children, teens, and adults. Buy one pair, get the second pair half price. Or buy one pair of shoes and get a backpack half priced. The best back-to-school sale at Reflections. Now located on Shedden Road, across from Napa Auto Parts. Beside Mango Tree. Reflections.
Steve Higgins Productions, in association with the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, the Cayman Islands Cancer Society, and the De Silva Family Trust presents Music of the Heart. A fantastic evening of excellent music presented by Delia Winter, April Marr, and Steve Higgins at the Marriott Beach Resort, 7 Mile Beach, Sunday, September 1st, 2019 at 6 p.m. Sponsored by Harney's, Appleby, SMP, NCB Capital Markets, Jamaica Tourist Board, and Radio Cayman. Tickets $25. Available at Funky Tanks, Super Stitch, or any member of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, or call 925-9134. That's 925-9134. Proceeds will go towards the Cayman Islands Cancer Society and the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. That's Steve Higgins and Friends in Music of the Heart. Sunday, September 1st at the Marriott Beach Resort. Don't miss it!
The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd. Bigger and better. Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher. The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run. Saturday, November 2nd.
The Weather Report is proudly sponsored by Super Stitch Sewing and Fabric Center, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasador Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Super Stitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special normal curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Super Stitch. Super Stitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadora Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
Good morning, Kima. Let's take a look at your latest weather. Compliments of our friends at Superstitch. Present temperature 86.36 degrees Fahrenheit. Skies are still mostly clear. Winds are picking up. 6 knots coming out of the east with gusts up to 8 knots. Barometric pressure at 1015.5. Relative humidity at 70.9%. Synopsis: slight winds and slight seas are expected today due to a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. A tropical wave moving away from our area may support showers and possible thunder through this evening. So the forecast for today: partly cloudy skies with a 40% chance of afternoon showers and possible thunder. Temperatures will rise to the low 90s. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Later on this evening, partly cloudy skies, 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. High tide is coming up later on at 8:42 this morning. It's going to be low at 2:59 this afternoon and high at 9:39 tonight. For tomorrow, low tide is at 3:41 a.m., high at 9:13 a.m., low at 3:23 p.m. and high at 10 p.m. Sunset this evening is at 6:53. Sunrise for tomorrow at 6:07. And the outlook is for similar weather conditions through Friday morning. That's your latest weather right here on Radio Cayman.
Superstitch Sewing and Fabric Center was the proud sponsor of the Weather Report, your one-stop shop for all of your household items, craft items, jewelry, beads, and decorations, and much more. Call Superstitch at 949-2833 or email customer care at superstitch.com.ky.
Thinking of decorating your home or your apartment? Then Superstitch is the place for all your household needs. We have sheets, comforters, bathroom accessories, curtains, and a whole lot more. We are the original curtain store with curtains for every room in the house. Some special now curtains for $10 a panel. Yes, just $10 a panel. Come see us today at Superstitch. Superstitch, your one-stop household store at 39 Pasadena Place, Smith Road. Still offering the best prices in town. Call 949-2833 or go to superstitch.com.ky.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching yellows, print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
The 2020 Yellow Directory is closing soon. Last chance. Don't miss out. Call now to sign up or renew today. 949-7027. That's 949-7027. Yellow. We know K-Man.
Wednesday, August 21 at 4 p.m. You are invited to the grand opening of the new Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center on Seymour Drive. New opportunity, new beginnings, new home for Caymanian youth seeking career training and certification in high-demand trades like automotive repairs, air conditioning, refrigeration, plumbing, electrical, metal fabrication, and more. Come witness, celebrate the cutting of the ribbon. At 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoon, August 21, another milestone. The Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center, a not-for-profit program successfully training and creating employment alignment since 2010. Purpose and fulfillment.
It's brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning, Kima. Let's take a look at your traffic conditions. Of course, if you're coming out of the eastern districts, you have a smooth flow of traffic, especially if you're going along the Linford-Pearson Highway or onto Crew Road. The traffic is moving along quite good. If you're turning on to Agnes Way, expect some slight delays as traffic merge from off Crew Road. Yeah, traffic is moving a little bit slowly there as you make your way to the four-way intersection. Traffic lights, if you're going along Huldah Avenue. Bobby Thompson Way slow up as well. Huldah Avenue is similar with slow-moving traffic, but of course, once you get past there, if you're turning onto Elgin Avenue, onto North Sound Road, you should be moving at a comfortable pace. West Bay Road is similar, looking a little bit busy this morning. Incoming traffic, but that is expected at this time. Also looking at the Esterly Tibbetts Highway, we've got a good flow of traffic coming into Georgetown. North Sound Road very much busy if you're heading onto Godfrey Nixon Way or heading east. If you're going along CUC Water Authority, roads are somewhat clear in that direction. Buckle up, stay safe, and you get off that smartphone. This traffic report brought to you by Subway.
But there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
The cure for the summer blues is sending your kids back to school with a backpack full of school supplies. During August, for every Subway Fresh Value meal purchased, enter your name, number, and email on the entry form for a chance to win one of 7 backpacks filled with school supplies from Subway. The Back to School giveaway at Subway. Not valid at the Airport Departure Lounge. Eat happy, eat fresh. Subway.
But there ain't no cure for the summertime blues.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Come out to the South Coast Bar and Grill this Friday, August 16th for the 2nd annual Cayman Night. There will be live music by Rex and the Band, Bonafide, Wild Nights, Lame, DJ Blue, and DJ Archie of Unit Force. Also featuring Rena Connolly, Philip and Molly Ann Bryan, Andy Martin, and special appearances by Swanky. Music starts at 9 p.m. and goes until 2 a.m. Admission is donations to assist Stan Ebanks with medical expenses, so don't miss the 2nd annual Cayman Night at South Coast Bar and Grill this Friday, August 16th from 9 p.m. until 2 a.m. with Cayman's top musicians and admission by donation. See you there.
Do you have a business in the tourism industry? The Cayman Islands Department of Tourism wants you to get listed on their website. Visit CaymanIslands.com. It's absolutely free and will give your business added exposure on the #1 visited tourism site for the Cayman Islands. Learn more and get listed at www.visitcaymanislands.com/sign up. That's www.visitcaymanislands.com/sign up. Don't wait. Sign up today.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
All right, so then we'll get back. Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. It's my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve McPhail. And just before we went to the 8 o'clock news, I pointed out to you that Ms. Theresa Pitcairn had joined us as well. And surprise, surprise, surprise. An Honorable Mayor Lawrence is with us, as well. I wasn't sure whether or not she was going to be able to make it. We did speak on Saturday, and maybe I misinterpreted in terms of the uncertainty whether or not you're going to be off island or not. But I'm going to have Ms. Theresa say a few opening remarks, and the Honorable Mayor Lawrence as well. And before we actually start to talk, I want to talk a little bit about that ceremony on Saturday for Ms. Choki. Real community turnout and everything else, and she was a stalwart. I want you to say a few words because you were one of the speakers at that on that occasion as well. Miss T, morning. You're on island.
This is what I can't take without seeing him. So he's now beginning to confuse you and I. He don't know when we're on island or when we're off island. Not because we're from Borden Town and not because we're women.
And he's like those little children. He asks you the question and you don't listen for the answer.
Yeah, so thanks so very much for having me on this morning, and thank you to the listening audience that are here and abroad. And as I was coming in, I was listening to some of the discussion between you and Dr. Steve. And, I said to myself as I was driving in, he's talking about the whole concept of what is a bus as defined under the law. And in front of me, someone is pulling off on Walker's Road, no indication or whatever. And I'm just saying, imagine, this is just how folks behave now, this erratic, irresponsible way on the road. But to the point about the referendum law, it's not unlike what we have now with the standard of public life legislation as well. I am personally curious as to why we are not actually taking steps to do that, and why we have a governor that is responsible for that's not even taken strident steps to ensure that law is instituted. I have concerns about, the person who is the chairman of that committee, what powers that chairman will have, and whether or not that person can actually bring matters, criminal or otherwise, that they're aware of, and this is not to pick on anyone. This is just a general concern to ensure that, we're actually moving forward instead of moving backward.
I do believe that something is coming, though, because they have been seeking additional input from the various boards and committees and things of that nature as well. So I believe that we're likely to see something coming forward in terms of amendment to the legislation and then bringing it into effect. Madam Speaker.
Well, good morning to everybody here at the table and in the Cayman Islands and anyone else who might be listening. And I was listening when I was coming in as well. And I just heard what you just said. But that's a little story we hear every time somebody raises a question about why the legislation is not coming. We're seeking input. We're seeking input again from this one or that one. And then the input isn't what they want, and then it goes by the by again. But when it comes to the referendum, we got this Constitution in 2009 by referendum. And one of the holdups, they said at the time, because they didn't install the Premier right away, they didn't follow the precepts of the Constitution as laid out at that time. They waited until November to install the Premier because they said they had to get the commissions up and running. Well, there's still no legislation to deal with any of that. And when it comes to the referendum, we knew that this section of the law is the people's right. And any Constitution should make sure that the people's rights are protected, and the government that is going to administer that Constitution should make sure the people's rights are protected. So we come to a time when the people said, we're going to have a referendum. And don't forget that the people have challenged things here before, and they had to go to court and spend a lot of money to get an opinion, a legal opinion, after, with all the public speech and all the rest of it. These were challenges to the government. So sooner or later, they knew there was going to be a push to the point where we were going to say, let's have a referendum on a certain issue. But there's no referendum law. And now what we're trying to do is to shut the gate after the horse get out. Because every time that you say, this is what we're going to do, they say, oh, but that's the wrong way to do it. But there's no law that says that's the wrong way to do it.
Right.
And so then everybody's left in a confused state. Well, are we doing the right thing? Oh, well, they said it's the wrong thing, but are we doing the right? And it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And meanwhile, the process that should have taken a very short time once the petition was presented, because there would have been steps within the legislation that says within so many days this is going to happen. That is the way things are done. All of that has gone by the by, as the old people talks about, and we're all sitting here discussing how it should be done. But it's not a question of us saying how it should be done. It's not a question of government saying how it should be done. There should be legislation that says how it should be done. Yes. And then there's no doubt in anybody's mind as to how it should be done. And this process can drag and drag forever. We're saying, we have so many verifications done now. But what's the next step? Mr. Macfield was commenting as I came in that the petition should have gone to the cabinet secretary and not the governor. But how would the people know that? There is no legislation that says the petition goes to the cabinet secretary, who presents it to the cabinet. You see, and so when the people, and this has been a Caymanian thing, they go to what they consider the highest seat, and they put it down there.
Start at the bottom.
No, they put it down there, and they said, "You deal with it," right? And so. All of the confusion that is happening now, what's going to happen now when the verification process is complete? How many days do the government have to come up with the question that is going to go to the public on the referendum? Who's going to word that question? And how? And what is the question going to be? Is the question going to be, should they have had a referendum? Or is the question going to say, well, should we have the port? Or what is the question going to be?
And is it going to be a binary one, or is it going to be,
exactly.
multiple?
And how? And once it is done, what happens to government plans? Suppose the referendum, we do go to referendum, which I think right now is a matter of just following a little format that we developed ourselves. If we go to referendum, what is going to happen? Is the government going to respect the wishes of the people? That is another big question. Is the government going to, or are they going to use their powers? Or is the governor going to use his powers to override the wishes of the people and say, we will do this?
So where does democracy stand in the question that you're raising?
Democracy?
Well,
Did you say that?
I'm just putting it on the floor.
With a big D or a small D?
The thing about democracy is that we've always done things in this country backwards. We started the party system from the top down. We deal with government from the top down. And we all forget that the power is in the hands of the people to do and change things. Whether it's at an election process, you say, well, you can change them every 4 years. But you can say, open your mouth, and say something in that 4-year period. No government should be allowed to just flow along for 4 years, and the people never have an input into what's going on.
Well, look at what's going on in Hong Kong, Miss Mary. I mean, folks are recognizing that there are certain values that they really, really respect and want to retain. So even when Beijing is stepping in, even they too, although they tell the United States to buzz off and mind their own business, they too are concerned about not creating a Tiananmen Square again. So.
But you see. We get to this point because we don't do the steps in between.
That's my point. I want to ask you.
We don't do the steps in between. I was in Hong Kong the week before the British handed it over to China. And the word from the people then, and I mean, I had the privilege of walking the streets and talking with people and visiting schools and doing the whole 9 yards. And the word from people then was, they're worrying about us seeking British citizenship. We don't want British citizenship. We have not been treated fairly by the British. We will take our chances with China because guess what? Hong Kong is the bank for China. In Hong Kong is where the money is that is going to help China to develop. So they were confident in their little position at that time. But when you look at the parliament that Hong Kong had, if you think ours is restricted, at that particular point in time, they had very little to say. They had very little power to say anything. And so they were not unhappy about moving forward. But what has happened is in the process, they didn't take the steps in between that needed to be taken so that they would not arrive at the point they have arrived at now. And we are headed in that same direction. I know people don't like me saying that, but if you can push people till you get them against the wall, and you can think that you are strong enough to push them and they can hold them against that wall, but somebody's going to break from that wall. And at that point, where are we at?
But Madam Speaker,
we have to start thinking political in this country, or we're going to be in big trouble.
Madam Speaker, let me put this question to you then. 72B says that the cabinet shall settle the wording of a referendum question or questions within a reasonable time as prescribed by law. How do you? How
exactly, that's what I said. The horse is out the gate.
Got to have the law.
Where's the law? Where's the law for cabinet to settle the wording of question within a reasonable time? There's no law. There's no law telling the cabinet to set the question, and there's no law saying what the reasonable time is. Exactly. So as the former Speaker of the House of our House, what is the legitimacy of what they're doing now then?
Well, their legitimacy, I think, was underlined by the fact that the governor could step in and interfere. Had there been a legislation in place, the governor would not have had the power. He would have had the power, but he could not have used it as arbitrarily as he did.
Reason, yes.
To say, well, this is what is going to happen. This is what you're going to have a verification process before we accept the referendum. If that had been written in a law, everybody would have known going to sign that petition that, yes, I need to sign a verification form at the same time that I signed the petition, and the thing could have been done, But nobody knew that this was going to come up. This came up when he got on the radio and announced it. And he could do that. He could use that power that he has because there was no law to set the boundaries for him.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record with Dr. Steve McFeel, Honorable Mary Lawrence, and Ms. Teresa Pitcairn will continue after this short commercial break.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Hi, Cayman. Born and raised in Central Georgetown, I am 25-year-old Mahalia Seymour, your contestant number 1 in this year's Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant. I'm an advocate for mental health awareness and a speaker for the silent voices that are afraid to be heard. That's why I'm delighted to have the Alex Panton Foundation as our platform for this year. Being a dog mom, I've become obsessed with Cayman Salt Life, enjoying long walks on the beach filled with millions of selfies, of course, which has allowed me to partner with an eco-friendly organization, 4 Oceans, that helps to eliminate the amount of single-use plastics overtaking our oceans. I look forward to seeing you all at the Ritz-Carlton on August 17th for the big night. See you then.
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
Support our port, support our tourism.
Did you know in the 15 years that we've been discussing the berthing facility, our competitors have pressed on with construction and now welcome the larger ships that pass us by? It's time we build our piers.
Looking forward, looking bright.
Learn more and spread the word.
Support our port, support our tourism.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In studio with me, Honorable Mary Lawrence, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve McFeel. Folks, I'm going to go back to the administering country for a minute. I'm not going to call her the mother country because there are times when we're treated by the UK and no mother would treat their child, like that. So the administering power. In the UK, there is a body called the Independent Commission on Referendum, and it is comprised of members of Parliament, both in the House of Lords and the House of Commons, academics, as well as other professional people, people in the legal fraternity and everything. And they issued a report in relation to referendum. And the report addressed the role that referendums play in democracy in the United Kingdom and the manner in which referendums are conducted. Its major recommendations stem from the three core points, right? First, referendums have an important role to play within the democratic system, but how they interact with other parts of that system is crucial. They must be viewed as coexisting alongside, and I want you to take note of this, coexisting alongside rather than replacing representative institutions. And I'm going to insert a little bit here, my own words, because there are some people who are of the opinion that you can run a country by referendum, and some of them point to Switzerland, for instance, in terms of what is done there, right? So they say their position is that referendums must be viewed as coexisting alongside rather than replacing representative institutions. They can be useful tools for promoting citizen participation in decision making, but they are not the only or necessarily the best way of doing so. And then their second point is referendums should be conducted in a way that is fair and effective. The rules should enable a level playing field between the competing alternatives. Those rules should also empower voters to find the information they want from sources they trust, so that voters feel confident in the decisions they reach. I want you to take note of that as well and ask the question, and we'll ask the question and try to answer it. In our situation, can that be realized? Can voters find the information that they want from sources they trust, so that when they go to the voting booth, they can feel confident in the vote that they're going to make, in the decision that they're going to take? And the third thing is the regulation of referendums must keep up with the changing nature of the political campaigning, particularly campaigning through social media. Again, I would go a little further with that and say that, well, we don't have legislation that is even keeping up with it, because we don't have legislation. We make a referendum law for every referendum. That's the way that it is done now. Huge questions in relation to campaigning, financing. Who is deemed to be, I guess in the legal profession, you would say who has legal standing. In the case of a referendum, who's allowed to spend money in terms of for or against, whatever question is being raised. So these are some of the recommendations, some of the questions that they had, the crucial ones. So let's start with using referendum to coexist alongside rather than replacing representative institutions. Can a country be run on the basis of referendum?
No, I don't think so.
That's not how you want to run a country in any event.
The referendum is an extreme. It's the extreme end. It is the people's last resort when they feel they have not had the information they need concerning a question.
Okay.
And that has been the problem with the port. There has been this veil of secrecy, if you want to call it that. But there is something else that happens here that I find offensive. And this is not just this government. Government has a tendency to dismiss the people when they ask a question. They either ignore them or they pretend that they're stupid for asking the question. And that is, like I said, that's not just this government. That has happened in the past, where you cannot get information. You cannot get information about what is going on. I remember in the 72 to the 76 government, and I was writing for the press at the time, and I said to the members of the House, you need to put information out. They were doing the biggest infrastructural rebuild in this country. In fact, it is the one that is standing still. And, well, they didn't need to because the people could see what they were doing. No, the people didn't understand what they were doing. You know, and you have to make sure that when you're making big decisions, that you're carrying the people with you. If you leave them behind, they're going to figure out a way to catch up.
One of the observations that I've had, and I've said it a number of times on air and in general, Caymanians have a very laid-back approach to life, and they're reliant primarily on the wisdom of leadership. Mm-hmm. What will happen when folks like us ask legitimate questions is that people in leadership will make us out to be outcasts like Cain and circulate pejorative comments about us to discredit us, because their view is that it's just a handful of these quote-unquote troublemakers when we ask legitimate questions. Things are changing now because more and more Caymanians are getting educated, and I always underscore what I mean by education. This is not the acquisition of a degree, whether it's a it's not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being sensible and being able to articulate your experience so that others will understand. So that you see that when there are comments on the talk shows, whether it's this one or others, where the regular man on the street or woman on the street or kid, young people, are asking legitimate concerns because they're concerned about their future. They're concerned about the future of their grandkids, their kids, and so on. And they live and see what happens every day. Governments get concerned, and I now wonder about, you see, when we grow up with each other in school and we know each other, my personal view is not to embarrass anyone publicly. And when I have issues and questions, I will go to the individual because we know everybody, right? And I will raise concerns that I have. But what has happened is that this relationship that we have developed as kids, as grown-ups, over time in the small community that we share, with a level of respect on the one hand because you don't want to embarrass or shame others, but you have the conflict where you know what folks are doing is just not right and it's just not good for community. And there is an unwillingness to discuss it because they've been in office for such a long, long, long time. And even when the people go to the polls with the view to change the directorship of the country, you see what can happen. And we have to call it out. And Ms. Mary, what about having a press that is objective and don't simply talk about what is in that press's best interest, but what is in the best interest of community. Community not being foreign, expatriate, or whatever, just community, because we're all in this. Nobody running any place with their cash. So we have to be sensible about how we go about making decisions for our future.
So coming back to the question then.
Yes.
That you pose. I would like to pose this to my colleagues here too. You said that one of the significant things about the referendum is finding the information that the voter need to cast is an informative vote.
Right.
Yes. Now,
and information that they source from sources that they trust as well.
Well, I just wrote down here that depends on the question that the cabinet will have to settle and the information that has to be made public between the time the question is settled and the vote is made.
Yes. And the rules need to lay that out as well.
And the rules need to lay that out. For instance, The cabinet will have to have details of the scheduled project and the reason for it being scheduled. They will have to have a description of the activities that they propose that they're undertaking out in the harbor and the reasons why they must be undertaken. They will also have to have things like a description of other options that may be available and the reasons why those options were not adopted. They will also have to have an assessment of the environment effects of the proposed project on the schedule and a record of the consultation that was undertaken with the Department of Environment. And finally, a description of the measures proposed to be taken to avoid remedy any mitigating adverse effects. All of that has to be published so that when I go to the polls to vote yes or no, I have an educated assessment of where I should cast my vote.
Right.
It's not a question now
based on informed decision,
about the project itself. It's not. Now we have verified. You go to poll and yes or no. If you don't know anything about the project, how are you going to vote yes or no?
And simply by or not only by going on to talk shows and running adverts, on the radio, on the television,
that's right.
in relation to that will not suffice.
No, because we did the same thing when we had the referendum for the Constitution. It was all laid out there, what it meant, what this section meant, what this meant, what this meant, what this meant. And we have to do the same thing now. Otherwise, it will be a farce. Yeah. And anyone who goes to court and challenging that, well, I can't guarantee that they will win, but people might go to court and challenge that because that information has to be come in between the time they set the question and the vote, so that people can go to the polls and with an informative and information of what the project is all about.
So our governor, in his role, while he has assured that he will ensure that no political interference, would you then say that the role of the governor and one of the roles that he should be playing in this, and he certainly has he certainly has resources in the United Kingdom. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the government, but some of these organizations that I have spoken about in terms of how this process should be played out. So he has something to mirror what is taking place in the Cayman Islands in terms against what is international best practice to ensure that at the end of the day, the people in the Cayman Islands, the voters, everyone is getting a fair shake. I have to take a commercial break, but when we return, I'll have you respond to that, Dr. McField. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
I just want to go back to what...
Have you seen the latest? Cayman has been ranked the most expensive place to live. It's time to buy smart. It's time to buy Ropers. Find everything for your home and kitchen at low prices at Ropers. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Clean up your spending with Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511. Ropers Janitorial also offers complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time. Ropers Janitorial, 949-2511.
Have you ever felt that there is something bigger out there for you? Something more positive, something more powerful, something all good, something bigger than yourself? Do you want to give back to this community? Your community? Together, Rotary Central, Rotary Sunrise, and the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman are hosting a membership meet and greet social Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. Come along. Bring a friend. Find out what Rotary is all about, what Rotary is doing in your community. So, see you there, Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. We're looking forward to meeting you. Rotary, connecting the world.
Hey, are those new glasses on Will?
Yeah, we went to Optical Outlook. Wham, bam, easy exam. Finally, an exam he could pass. And we had the glasses the next day. Easiest part of our back-to-school shopping for sure.
Book your child's eye exam today at Optical Outlook. Call 746-2020. Get half off a complete pair of glasses with any student's eye exam now until August 31st. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook, located in Caymanian Village.
Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McField, Mr. Risa Pitcairn, Honorable Mayor Lawrence. Doc, back to you.
Well, that's the point that I would like to go back to what Dr. and Honorable Mayor Lawrence said about the governor. The Section 70 doesn't speak about a governor conducting how the referendum should be held.
Right.
It doesn't speak of. He's not included in this. Mm-hmm. It says about a law. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the whole argument this morning should be, or is that the law comes first. Mm-hmm. The law does not come afterwards. The law comes first. Before all of this takes place, you have to have the law that defines you so that you can comply with the law, just like how you have the election law that you can comply with how the election is run.
Mm-hmm. But if that law does not include some of these things that we spoke about that will give...
What law? There's no law.
When it comes, when it is proposed, if it doesn't include all of these provisions that will ensure that the voter is able to make an informed decision, that the information is provided for him. If that legislation is devoid of that, when it comes to the governor for him to assent to it, doesn't he have the power at that point in time to disallow that legislation because it does not include those important aspects of democracy that the electorate need to have and need to know in order to.
But that's the problem, Mr. Connor. You are leaving your rights in the hands of a governor in the face of the constitutionality of a law, and I don't like that because the governor might say, just like he said to me on the radio, on another radio station, when I asked him about Section 117 and Section 119. He says he's doing his very best to get Section 117, the Standards in Public Life, enacted. But as far as Section 119, the District Council's law, he's not interfering in that. Mm-hmm. He's leaving that to the politicians. Mm-hmm. Suppose he does the same thing here. Mm-hmm. Where are we going to stand now? It's like Dr. Lawrence said, we'll be in a catch-22 position.
But I'm not sure whether or not you understand what I'm saying is that if the legislation comes to him, the referendum law comes to him devoid, in the not having those things in it that will ensure that the process is properly followed, he can disallow it. Now, I'm not
but
saying.
How do we know that he's going to do that?
But he can. But he can.
But he can and he can't, and he can. And
but that is where you would put pressure on him and the watchdogs that are out there looking at that legislation, and of course you have your the loyal opposition in the Legislative Assembly as to whether or not they're prepared to vote for it. You look at what has taken place in the Legislative Assembly. You have your watchdogs. You have legislation in other jurisdictions, including the administering country, that shows out how ideally referendum laws should be, what provisions should be in there to ensure that they're fair, to ensure that they encourage public participation, to ensure that the public gets the information that they want. So you have all of those areas to look at to see whether or not the legislation that is being proposed in terms of this referendum fits the bill. And if it doesn't meet the smell test, then you put pressure on him to disallow it.
Wait a minute now. We are assuming.
Yes.
We are assuming that when the verification process is complete, that Parliament is going to meet and pass legislation on a referendum bill. A referendum bill. Government has to bring the bill in the first instance.
Right.
So they're going to dictate the terms of the bill. The bill is going to come to Parliament, and government controls the vote in Parliament. So whatever they put into the bill, they will manage to pass it because they have the majority vote to pass it with.
Yes, acknowledged.
So it comes back now, and it has to go to the governor for consent, or assent rather, and to be brought into action. Should the governor decides, well, it doesn't include the things that that should be in it,
right,
and disallows the bill, you have to understand he's disallowing the action of the Parliament that is entitled to run this country.
But he can do it anywhere.
Of course, he can.
Yeah.
So then he has to go. The law says, the Constitution says, he then has to explain himself to England why he has disallowed this. And I don't know if anybody has thought about how long this process is going to be, but it takes them a long time to get a bill out of the cabinet and to get it to the House and to go through even if they lifted all the standing orders and sailed it through, which they can do, and gets to the governor for assent, and then it goes to London to question whether the governor has made the right decision or not. And if they say he's made the right decision and they uphold his decision, then what happens here to the government that passed the bill? And if they say he erred in his judgment, what happens to the people?
Yes,
ruling the thing. It is
9 times out of 10 they're going to side with the UK is going to side with the governor.
Well, we have
because he would normally consult with them even before he decides not to assent to it.
Well, I don't know if he consulted with them when he went to the verification process either. But it does. He has a power. No, we're not questioning his power in that regard.
Yes,
he has the power.
Yes, okay.
But when you are going to disallow legislation that the Parliament, in a vast majority, because don't forget they don't just control a little one man, one vote thing in the House. They control the major number of seats in that Parliament. And having passed legislation there for him to disallow it, there's a lot of explanations to be done. And then what happens after that? How long is this process going to take? For the simple reason that we did not put. We've had a lot of time.
But it should take
even since this process started. Even since the people says, you won't tell us what's going on, we want a referendum. We want to hear. We want to know. Even since that, government could have written up a legislation, gone to Parliament and says, these are the rules.
Madam Speaker, you asked a question in terms of how long should the process take. It should take as long as it has to take to ensure that the people's rights are protected.
I agree with you, but I have heard government sit in your office, your little corner of the world here, and say they've already considered the vote, the applications, and I found that surprising. There was only one application that actually ended up before government, although there were 3 that were supposed to come. They said that they don't know why the other 2 fell away. But okay, so one came and they looked at that and thought, well, this is just the right one. We'll have this one. And having done that, they have gone ahead and granted that group of people.
Of course, that recommendation was made by the Public Tenders Committee.
The right to build the port, right? Now, that has been done. What kind of documentation was signed on that? We don't know. What kind of agreements were reached on that? We don't know. What is the timeline on that? We don't know. So the fact of the matter is, when all the verification process is done, and is there going to be this? I think they said October. Someone said, I am not sure about that. That this would be the
they have given a
time frame in which it's going to be done.
They will hold off
so
until then. Yeah.
This is we're coming down to we're at the middle of August. The verification process, which maybe it'll be complete by the end of this month. I don't know. What are they going to do then? Are they going to do a referendum law? How are they going to get the question out? What is the process that we are going to follow to make sure that the rights of the people are protected? And this is something that we have to consider very seriously. Yeah. It doesn't matter. This is what people don't understand. It does not matter whether the people are right or the people are wrong. There is a process that should be followed to ensure that their rights are protected. Their right to question.
And
there is always the right to question the government in a democracy.
Okay, we have to go back to headline news at 9 o'clock, top of the hour. Folks, please stay tuned. Headline news, very short. When we return, the conversation here will continue. Very, very interesting conversation, informative as well. So please stay tuned.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Today marks the official funeral of the first governor of the Cayman Islands, Athelstan Long, who passed away on August 1st. The event is taking place today at 1 p.m. at the Cayman Islands Baptist Church in Savannah. Interment will follow at Eden Cemetery. Former Chancellor Philip Hammond has accused the UK Prime Minister of trying to wreck the chance of a new Brexit deal by making demands the European Union could never accept. In a Times article, Mr. Hammond said a no-deal Brexit would be, quote, a betrayal of the 2016 referendum result. He told the BBC he was confident that Parliament, quote, has the means to express its opposition to a no-deal exit. A Downing Street source said the UK would leave on October 31st, despite Mr. Hammond's, quote, best efforts to the contrary. And Germany's economy shrank during the April to June period of this year. The decline in exports dampened growth, according to official data, which comes amid concerns of a global slowdown. Gross domestic product fell by 0.1% compared with the previous quarter, according to German federal statistics. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McField, Honorable Mayor Lawrence, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn. We're talking about the referendum process here in the Cayman Islands, or the lack of a referendum process as a result of the lack of any permanent legislation being in place that governs the conduct of a referendum, because the system that we have in place and what our Constitution speaks to, it says, a law, and our interpretation of that is that every time we have a referendum, we need to have a law in place for that particular referendum. I do not necessarily believe that is the right way for things to be done, but that we can discuss at some point in time as well. But I believe, Doc, you had a few questions
I would just
for the speaker.
Lawrence, the question that you answered was to Mr. O.C. was in the direction that the governor would intervene if the law did not provide for all of these things that we say that it should provide for, and especially for information, so that the public could have be informed when they go to the polls. Suppose the governor doesn't use his veto power. Then what? And let the government get away with it. Where do we go from there then, madam?
Then we have a law, but since it has no bearing on the people rights still were not protected. If they pass legislation that was anti the people, and that's what it will be.
Yes.
If they pass legislation, and like I said, they have the votes in the House to do it. They can pass any piece of legislation they want. They can bring any bill they want to the Parliament. And this is what I don't understand. Why, since this process started, from the time that referendum was mooted the first time, government should have moved quickly to bring legislation to Parliament and say, if you're going to have a referendum, this is the process that you must follow. That should have been done, but it wasn't done because I have a feeling that in everybody's mind that, well, they were not going to get those signatures. And then, of course, once they got the signatures, all of a sudden we learned the signatures have to be verified. Had we had legislation, that would have said you have to verify the signatures. And everything would have been done, signed, sealed, and delivered. They're saying, you said this morning that it should have been delivered to the cabinet secretary. But there's no legislation that says that. And the only way that the people understand this is that they take the petition to the governor. You know, that was done here once before, and the governor brought it to the House and laid it on the table of the House. You all don't remember that? Go read your history
That
book.
would have been when he was also presiding over the over the House, though, would he? Would
No.
it have been? No?
No. The government member brought the governor sent it in and had it later. And he said he was going, when he received the petition, he said he was going to bring it to the Legislative Assembly and laid on the table there. Because we don't follow the proper procedure on so many things here. We sort of do it ad hoc. We make it up as we go. It reminds me of children on a playground. And I get the ball and you want the ball back. So I say, oh, you know something? You're not supposed to be holding that ball that long. And I make up the rule right then and there. Yeah. And that's what we're doing with the stuff we're doing in this country. We're making it up as we go along. And so the government came out and says, oh, you have all the information you need right now. Well, let me tell you something. I didn't get all the information I needed. I didn't hear from them. What are we going to do? It's going to take 4 years to build, I heard. What are we going to do in those 4 years with the cruise industry? How are we going to handle that when the harbor out here is in turmoil? How are we going to handle the landing of the food stuff and all the construction material and everything that this country needs to survive on a daily basis? How are we going to handle all of that? Where are we going to land that? Where are we going to use the place at Spots as a substitute for the cruise port in Georgetown? The port director said you can only handle 2 cruise ships there a day. What are we going to do to improve that site up there if it's going to be used? Even after we have built that port and the first nor'wester rolls in, where are we going to put the cruise ships? Are we going to improve Spots to put it? When are they going to answer the questions that the people want the answers to? And this is what everybody's finding so frustrating. Instead, they got up and they said, oh, these people shouldn't have done this, and they had ulterior motives. You know, in Parliament, you cannot impute improper motives to another member. That gets you the highest censor in the land. You do not impute improper motives. But if the government is imputing improper motives to the people who are leading the referendum, that's wrong too.
Have a question here from
there is all kinds of we are, like I said, we are juggling this thing now to try to make it fit what we have instead of having something in place that this fits.
Okay, we have a question from Toronto and says, greetings from Toronto. Can you ask your guests to explain and give examples of assertions that they make and stuck to current day and to stick to current day, not old governments. An example, what is the veil of secrecy that the speaker refers to regarding the dock? What questions other than those that could only be fully answered during the procurement was not answered. I would be happy to learn what these are. And I think you referred to some of them just before I read this, some of the questions that hadn't been asked there. So I trust and hope that writer is listening, and I wouldn't want to ask you to repeat them again if there's anything else that you want to clarify.
I have serious misgivings about how we're going to do all of this construction in the Georgetown Harbor. And there were no answers to that as far as I'm concerned. They can tell me that it is silly for people to want to know how the silt is going to be contained, that they know it is going to drift down to 7 Mile Beach. They need when we dig out this place, we know, and I can tell you from Boddentown, we lost a lot of beach in Boddentown, and they dug just a little trench going to the reef. You move nature, and nature moves to fix itself. So we didn't get any answers in that regard. We didn't get any answers with regard to what is going to, the cost, the environmental costs to this country. We didn't get any answers on that as far as I'm concerned. We didn't get any answers on how they're going to conduct the port's business, which is the lifeline of this country, how they're going to conduct that business when all this construction is going on in the harbor out here, and there are dredges, and there this and there that there. How are the cruise ship passengers going to get to shore? How are the materials that we need to survive every day going to get to shore? We need answers to these questions. We need to know how they are going to manage this thing. It is one thing to sign a contract and say it costs $2 million, $100 million, or whatever, $200 million. But we need to know how they are going to manage it. And I'm going to tell you what, if that airport project is any sample of how it is going to be managed, God help us.
Okay, we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Osei, and good morning to your star-studded panel there. It's Johan Moxham.
Good morning, Johan. You sure you called the right station?
This is Radio Moscow. Yes, I called it.
I'm going to chastise you on that Radio Moscow bit. That Radio Moscow is the same Radio Moscow Radio Cayman that allows you to sit around the table and hear on For the Record and talk, and one who has exclaimed and proclaimed, well, it's surprising you're able to stay on the show so long, and you talk about the government, you criticize the government, you allow people to sit around the table and criticize the government. That is Radio Cayman, not Radio Moscow, Mr. Moxham. Anyway, go right ahead. We're still friends.
No, hopefully I won't get cut off, but thank you for making that point. What I was going to say starting off is, first of all, I want to thank the three panelists, Speaker Lawrence, Dr. McPhail, and Mrs. Pitcairn. What they are doing this morning and what they have done every time they've had the opportunity to sit in the studio on Radio Cayman, if that makes you feel better, is educate, enlighten, and speak to the practicality of the situation. I want to thank them personally, but also endorse so much of what they've said this morning, because for a government to say that they've shared all the information, people now know and understand better, when you have individuals of that caliber and of that intellect left with significant questions, much like me and thousands of other Caymanians, I think it's fair to say that the government don't understand just how poorly they are communicating their message, or perhaps they might be deliberately doing so in order to misrepresent the facts to suit their narrative. The questions and the discussions that are being asked here are exactly what many, many, many Caymanians discuss, and what people don't understand, because when you start off on the premise that there is no referendum law, no guidelines, no legislation, there is only one thing that you can conclude from that. That was a deliberate attempt by the government to ensure that they are not accountable for anything. Mm-hmm. If there's no rules, there's no laws, there's nothing to guide you, then you can make it up as you go along. We've seen the government change their position on about 3 or 4 different occasions to go from something as outlandish as, and I understand this argument, if you're allowed to accept signatures, you should be allowed to remove your or retract your support for the referendum. But don't you think that sort of rule should have been highlighted from the outset, not at the 11th hour?
Agreed. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Once the situation reached 80%, that right there is in keeping with the sort of attitude, arrogance, and the way that they're choosing to govern. If the government had decided that they were going to be open and transparent, I can assure you with the information, I wouldn't be banging this drum, and there would be no CPR that is leading the charge for a people's initiated referendum, which is now inevitable. I will also prophesize this, because I believe and I understand, and trust me, OC, I don't have to lie about anything. What I say is a fact, okay? Because I do my homework, and I try to make sure I'm never put myself in a position for any sort of legal rebuttal that has consequences. But given the tone, the information, the quality of the discussion this morning, your three panelists will not be invited back on the show during the campaign referendum situation. Because
why you say that? I have control over my guests when there is free time, and right now every other Wednesday, the former leader of the opposition, Mr. Miller, has said that he will come on every other Wednesday. So my flexibility is on Wednesdays, and I have full control over the persons who I invite.
Well, no, that's fine, but you're also an employee of the company, and last time I checked, it was called Radio Cayman and not Radio OC. So
but this is, for the record, hosted by me, and I have the option at any point in time, if the terms under which I'm going to host this radio show are not the terms that I want, then I no longer host it. I have that choice too.
Well, I'm happy to be wrong, and I hope that you and your bosses and the government will prove me wrong, and will continue to have individuals speaking and educating the country like this. Secondly, there will be no cap spent or no cap on the amount of money spent by the government during the referendum. They will flood the airwaves. They will do exactly what Dr. Steve said and what others on the panel said. They will put up the radio ads. They will put up all of the little things instead of getting into the meat and potatoes of how the process is supposed to work and really educate the people about what this contract and what this deal truly represents. You guys are speaking on behalf of the country this morning. Your panelists are speaking on behalf of the country, and I'm just now prophesizing what will come out of this. And the third thing, and I'm going to...
And I just want to remind you, Mr. Moxham, that, and I don't mind you not giving... I don't need the credit, but the topics, sometimes my guests get an opportunity to say what they want to talk about, but most of the times I choose the topics because they're current and they're have a public interest story to it. Just wanted to clarify that for you.
I thank you for having these sort of topics available and inviting these sort of people. And if the gods allow, and you are interested in having a conversation with me or members of CPR, we'd be more than happy to take you up on that invitation. Since you're in complete control of the show. And the last
I'll have to consult the Kremlin on that one. But
I like that. The last point that I'll make, sir, is the referendum will go ahead. It is inevitable. The government will react and go full steam ahead to have this done as quickly as possible. And I am now prophesizing the referendum will be held the week of October the 7th. Their campaign will consist of do not come out to vote. If you don't come out, it's a no vote, which again defies logic for a government that claims to support democracy, support participatory democracy, and support the Constitution. When your government can encourage you to stay away from the polls because they don't want to take the chance on the outcome, that lets you know that they're not being sincere about their belief in democracy. But the referendum will be held the week of October the 7th, and when it happens, just remember, you heard it first on Radio Cayman, OC show, also known in some quarters as Kremlin Radio or something like that. Have a good day, guys.
Well, hopefully we won't hear that terminology from you anymore, huh?
No. The point has been made, and you've given me sufficient time, so I think I've achieved my objective.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stu. You have to go to a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
It was a day that changed my life. No words can describe the feelings of seeing my baby boy sick for the first time. The overwhelming feeling of fear to be responsible for his health and happiness became my priority. So I did what any nurturing mother would do when their baby is sick. I took him to get some of the best medicine possible.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
At Logic, we make things better for our customers. It's why we're offering free Boost Wi-Fi. With Boost, you get improved Wi-Fi connectivity everywhere in your home, so there's no more dead zones. The only people we're not making this better for is parents. Because now with seamless Wi-Fi in every room in your home, go to your room isn't really the punishment it used to be. Sorry about that. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller on hold and I have two WhatsApp messages, but we're going to take the caller because that caller has been holding for quite a while. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It was a pleasure seeing you the other day as well and sitting and talking with you.
It was my privilege.
Thanks.
Regarding the referendum, I think most of the public are aware that the Premier and the members of government have said that they are not against a referendum. If there are sufficient names and those who want it, then the referendum is expected to go on.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't understand is why some individuals seem to think that even though names are continuing to be accepted for that referendum, for some reason, individuals think that the government must just sit and wait until the referendum is over. And during that time, not to do everything that they need to do to educate the public about what the building of the cruise port and cargo dock is all about, what it entails, how much research has been done, the cost of it, who's paying for it, the benefits to Caymanians as far as employment, not just in the short term, but for the long term. There are many, many things that the government needs to make the public aware of. So for them to sit back and do nothing while those who are promoting the referendum are doing what they want to do, they're trying to get more signatures. Again, I say the Premier has repeatedly stated that it is within their right to call for a people-initiated referendum.
Mm-hmm.
It is in our Constitution. So no government can say to them, you cannot have that referendum. No, at the end of the day, if those numbers are, they're able to get the numbers that will put that through, then of course the referendum will go through. If there are insufficient numbers, whether that's 10 less or 20 less, then the referendum should not go through. However, at the same time, government should do everything possible to educate the public. So what I'm trying to say here is that I have met with certain individuals who said they signed that paper and didn't really know what they were signing it for. They're not, after they heard what the referendum was all about, they said, you know what, if I had known that, I wouldn't have signed. I also sat in front of a certain supermarket or a certain shopping complex one day, and I saw where individuals were there, and they were garnering signatures for the referendum. What I was puzzled about was the fact that these individuals were spoken to, but for just a minute or two. In some cases, it might have gone on for as much as 5 minutes. But most of the time, people in and out of the supermarket were being stopped, and they were spoken to perhaps a minute, most 2 minutes. And I sat in that car. I was waiting on someone who had gone to a pharmacy, and I sat in that car, and I wondered to myself, how much information can you pass on to someone within a minute or two of something as important and in some cases as a complex to those people that you're trying to persuade to sign the paper? So what I'm saying today is no one should try to criticize the government for making an effort to give the people the truth about the cruise pier and the cargo dock, because as far as I'm concerned, we need it. Mm-hmm. And I hope and I pray that it'll go through, and I will do everything possible to try to persuade anyone that I speak to. But I'm not sure I should use the word persuade. I should say I will try to enlighten anyone that I speak to about the truth of the matter and hope that they will make up their mind. I am not prepared to try to do anything underhanded or to create any situation where there's a fear. Nothing. Just speaking the truth.
Okay. This
is needed, and we had better accept this opportunity. We may not get it again.
Thank you very much, caller.
Caller, before you go, is that Miss Daphne?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Can I ask you something, ma'am? Do you think that the cruise ship here is a matter of national importance?
I do think so, because it is something we're preparing for the generations to come. Remember this, a few coral reefs in Hogside Bay will not provide for a generation to come. We have many dive sites. What I'm trying to say is this. We need the pier and the cargo dock. Where else should we put it? As you know, sir, and with respect, you know that the seabed in Georgetown Harbor has been compromised for decades because of the continual throwing off of anchors in that area. Do we now leave that area and go to another pristine dive site somewhere around, because they're all around the island? Do we now shift to go to another one, dredge in that area, and then create another havoc on the seabed again?
Caller, I think you've answered the question, which is whether or not it's a question of national importance. You've answered as well. Thank you very much for that, caller. We have another WhatsApp message says, "Greeting, Orrett and panel. I have a famous quote from Thomas Jefferson, which I feel speaks volumes. And the quote is, 'Even under the best forms of government, those entrusted with power have in time and by slow operations have perverted it into tyranny.'" And then another writer asks the question, have any of us seen the plans for the port as well? We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Gym tonight?
I have another test today.
Wow, for somebody who isn't in school, you've had a lot of tests this week.
Well, Vamp Motors is giving out fresh baked cookies to customers who test drive SUVs this month. And since I haven't decided what to buy, I'm just test driving each one to see what I like best.
You better test drive that to the gym and back, especially with all those free cookies you're getting from Vamp.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this August at Vamp Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. Now through the end of August. That's every SUV in stock on sale. Save up to $4,400 or put the savings towards upgrading your vehicle. Sweeten the deal with Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
During the greatest events of your life, whether or not you have the right health insurance coverage should be the last thing on your mind. That's why at Fidelity Health, we are committed to helping you get matched with the right plan to suit you and your family. We offer a range of plans to suit your budget, plus access to a network of quality care throughout the Caribbean and the USA. You can relax and enjoy life's greatest moments when you are covered with Fidelity Health. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote.
Have you ever felt that there is something bigger out there for you? Something more positive, something more powerful, something all good, something bigger than yourself? Do you want to give back to this community? Your community? Together, Rotary Central, Rotary Sunrise, and the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman are hosting a membership meet and greet social Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. Come along. Bring a friend. Find out what Rotary is all about, what Rotary is doing in your community. So, see you there, Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. We're looking forward to meeting you. Rotary, connecting the world.
The Miss Cayman Islands Universe Committee is inviting you to our pageant on 17th August, 7 p.m. at the Ritz-Carlton. The committee continues to empower young Caymanian ladies to become role models in the community. So come out and see our 6 beautiful contestants vie for the title of Miss Cayman Islands Universe. The winner will represent us at the Miss Universe pageant. Get your tickets today at Funky Tangs and Sand Angels.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last half hour of the show. Time goes so fast when you're, in this case, not having fun, but really helping to provide information to our listening and viewing audience, to the citizen of the Cayman Islands as well. Going back to this same independent commission on referendum in the UK, one of the other recommendations that they make, and I think we can learn from this. We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel.
Of course not.
To get things right in this particular case. They point out that more should be done to enable the work of broadcasters, universities, fact checkers, and other independent organizations in facilitating access to balanced information. Balanced information. That's a key phrase there. I think that is important for the information going out there to be balanced, so that at the end of the day, the person going into that voting booth is going there and making a decision that is informed rather than someone trying to sway them one way or the other.
But that's why I was saying earlier this morning, and this again is not to point fingers, because people are so sensitive in our community. if you communicate a view that is different, they somehow hold you up and, think that it's a personal thing. It's not personal. When I believe, and I'm an informed individual, when I read some of the material that we see in the popular press, I don't walk away thinking that I'm getting an objective view. And I have not seen, not in recent times, a newspaper that actually seeks to proffer a view that actually holds people accountable and indeed even praise folks when they're doing the right thing. Our previous caller, and this is what democracy is all about, I don't have to agree with you to have a view. My views, I think, are diametrically opposed to some of the views that were raised by the previous caller. But I still have Cayman's best interest at heart, and even more so because I have children of my own, and I know the type of Cayman I would like to see them inherit. The trajectory that we're on right now does not lead me to conclude that is, and I don't have a monopoly on knowledge. Our government doesn't have a monopoly on knowledge, but we can only get to a place of balance when we have all the information before us so that we can make informed decisions.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was me on my pulpit just now.
Okay. I want you to comment on some of these other things here again. The conduct of referendums. The alternatives should be... the alternatives should compete on a level playing field. Yeah. It should be a level playing field for everyone. Voters should be able to find the information that they want from sources that they trust. Yeah. Right? And these if they're able to do those things, then they will lead to other things that happen. So, level playing field. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because one of the things that they say in relation to a level playing field was that current restrictions on government involvement in referendum campaigns should be extended to cover the whole campaign period, but narrowed in scope to target the behavior that is of concern during the referendum, that is, campaigning for or against the proposal. 2, lead campaigners should be designated as early as possible to give campaigners time to prepare effectively. So in this case, for instance, the lead campaigners would be the government and CPR and any other group that decides that they want to be involved in this as a group, and they would be designated as lead campaigners, and as a result of that, they would be assigned certain responsibilities, certain restrictions, including some of the things that I'll talk about here. Again, it says measures should be taken to enhance the transparency of campaign spending and the accountability of campaigners for that spending. In the case of the UK, the Electoral Commission and Information Commissioner's Office should work together in regulating spending and the use of personal data in political campaigning. They should also review how any space provided to campaigners in the Commission's voter information booklet is to be used. Where if you're going to provide, Dr. Steve Macfield spoke about the constitutional review process. Mm-hmm. There was a booklet that was was put out, telling people things. Also, methods of fostering citizen deliberation on referendum issues and disseminating its results, should be piloted. Yes. So many suggestions that are being made there. Yeah, Doc, you want to say something?
Well, does that mean also that campaign spending should be as equal as possible?
Yes. Huh? Yeah.
And so who should provide that campaigns, the funds for that?
That's another question. Yes,
I mean, should the government be providing this?
The government provides it for
since it's a people referendum. If the government is providing for themselves, shouldn't they provide the same amount of money for the people so that they can have their people informed?
All of that should be addressed in legislation.
That's right.
Ms. Steve?
That's right.
Yeah, and I keep hearing complaints from folks about the unfettered way in which government uses the public's funds to advertise its position on the port, knowing, and see, and it's blatant. It speaks to what you referred to earlier, Ms. Mary, when you say that, government will and it's not necessarily this government alone, but historically, it seems to take the view that its view is the only view. I say to folks all the time, it is our money. It's the taxpayers' money. You have a voice in terms of how it should be spent. By the way, before you speak, Ms. Mary, and this is just a thought that's come into mind when you spoke about the airport. Tuesdays, the airports are closed. I don't know if you know that. I discovered that last night when I was trying to make reservations for my kids to go back to school. Who does that? I mean, I don't know. Who does that, really and truly?
We were speaking also about.
Yeah, look at all the money we spend.
I just don't understand this state of affairs, honestly.
We were speaking about making available what we were speaking about.
Funding?
No, I don't remember now what we were speaking about.
But you see, the thing is...
Or the plans. Has anyone seen
Yes. We had a question. Has anyone seen the plans
I haven't
for
seen,
the port?
I haven't seen... The plans I've seen in the newspaper...
I saw a picture.
I saw a picture, yes, in the newspaper. Well, they...
An artist's conception.
An artist's conception, that's right. They're not much different from the ones that China Harbour put out in 2013 when we were negotiating to build a port there. And the only difference is that this one doesn't have any upland development. The one that the McKeever government negotiated, the framework agreement, but the plans that the artist conception that they negotiated had uplands development. I think even a hotel they were talking about putting down there in the port, and shops for local people to have businesses down there. This doesn't have that, but it's the same concepts. It's the same concepts, and so to me, it's not much difference.
Okay. We got a little radio silence there. They know what that is.
Yes.
Go ahead, Madam Speaker. You were saying you're going to.
No, I just find myself in the position where that the first thing they're going to say is that I am anti-government. I'm not anti-government.
Not at all. Not at all.
I am pro-government. This is what they don't understand. It's not the government that I'm at, the framework that I'm at, have an opinion on. It is the people who hold offices, and they are the people who dictate the course of the country. And if they're going to dictate the course of this country over the next however many years that they're already been there so much time, if they're going to dictate it, they need to tell the people where they're taking them. We have an airport that costs $80 million plus, and we don't have jetways. We have 2 planes sitting on the tarmac that nobody will tell us what the position of those planes are. Are we going to send them back? Can we send them back? Are we going to get a refund? Are we still paying the bills? Nothing is being told to the people.
Yeah.
You know, and the press is not investigating and saying, well, hey, something, they're still paying the monthly payments on that. Nobody's telling us anything. Mm-hmm. Nobody's telling us where the business of the port and both the commercial port and the cruise port, where is it going to be conducted when this big project is taking place in Georgetown Harbor? Because there is no way you can bring cruise ships in there when you got dredges and stuff working. Where is it going to be conducted?
Okay, their argument would be, while this is will be on a much larger scale, that we were able to do it when we were building the cargo dock, the current dock that we have. The only thing is that this is at a larger scale. But like you said, whether or not they have told us that. We have one caller. Let's see if we can grab that caller.
Then we had one boat coming every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. This is a long thing
so
from
true.
that.
Yeah. Let's see if we can take that caller before we go to our break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning again, sir.
Good morning again, ma'am.
Yes, sir. When it was mentioned in your panel, and by the way, good morning to the panel.
Good morning, ma'am.
Appreciate all of you there. It was mentioned about government spending of funds, whether that's in advertising, promoting a project, whatever it might be. If a government in power not only has to find a way of revenue streams, making money for the country, bringing money, keeping the country prosperous, and, making sure everything is going good financially to the very best of their ability. If they bring a project forward, such as the cruise port, cargo dock, and they feel that this is best for the country, especially a forward-thinking government who's trying to do what they can, not only to provide for today's generation, but probably the next generation to come. Is it not fair that they spend that money in promoting the project when really and truly, up to this point in time, I have not heard an argument, which in my opinion now, everyone is subject to their opinion, which in my opinion holds water as to why this project should not go through. If this is because of some selfish motive on the part of some, just because they may not like the premier or his government. And I'm not saying that about those who are sitting in the
premier is my dear little cousin.
I mean,
please
for real.
But what listen to me now. Let me finish. You're in the panel and you've spoken. Thank you. What I'm saying is this. I am not referring to either of you in that regard. But I'm saying whatever the problem is, instead of focusing mainly on the referendum, wouldn't it be fair to point out why the government should not promote, why the government should not enlighten the people as to the reason why this project should go forward? Mm-hmm. If they need to spend money, yes, it is our money. It is also our money when they bring it in. What I'm saying is, you cannot expect the government to sit quietly while those who are promoting the referendum are out doing whatever it is that they feel that they do, and they have a right.
Point well taken.
Point
well taken. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Caller, we're going to ask you to leave us there again.
Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a good day.
Thank you very much. Last commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Have you ever felt that there is something bigger out there for you? Something more positive, something more powerful, something all good, something bigger than yourself? Do you want to give back to this community, your community? Together, Rotary Central, Rotary Sunrise, and the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman are hosting a membership meet and greet social Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. Come along. Bring a friend. Find out what Rotary is all about, what Rotary is doing in your community. So, see you there, Thursday, August 15th at Pepper's Restaurant, 5 to 7 p.m. We're looking forward to meeting you. Rotary, connecting the world.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Gym tonight?
I have another test today.
Wow, for somebody who isn't in school, you've had a lot of tests this week.
Well, Vamp Motors is giving out fresh baked cookies to customers who test drive SUVs this month. And since I haven't decided what to buy, I'm just test driving each one to see what I like best.
You better test drive that to the gym and back, especially with all those free cookies you're getting from Vamped.
Take a test drive for a sweet surprise this August at Vamped Motors. Test drive any SUV and receive a freshly baked cookie. It's our way of saying thanks for dropping by to check out our huge sale on every SUV in stock. Save up to $4,400 during Vamp's summer SUV sale. Now through the end of August. That's every SUV in stock on sale. Save up to $4,400 or put the savings towards upgrading your vehicle. Sweeten the deal with Vamped Motors, Walkers Road.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater. Also discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have about 12 minutes left. We're going to close the phone lines off now. I want to give my panelists an opportunity for them to make some closing comments. Before I do that, I will read one WhatsApp message that was received, and it reads that on a point on lack of a referendum law, this has benefited the CPR group more than the government. A law would likely require a specific purpose of the referendum. Look at CPR referendum to see whether it's specific. It would likely provide a clear timeline to get the signatures. This is now they're talking about a referendum law. Unlikely this would be a year, and it would likely state what types of things it can be brought on, or the topics that it can be brought on. Unlikely that would include a project that started so long ago and was so far in. It might also have rules as to behavior that would not be allowed during a referendum as well. So that was the last WhatsApp message that we received in that regard. Want to go around the table and give you an opportunity for comments. We have about 10 minutes left. Want to start with you, Madam Speaker?
You know, I want to comment on two things. This belief we have in the Cayman community that if you voice an opinion that is different from somebody else's, that you don't like that person or that you hold something personal against that person. We have never been able in this community to separate personalities from politics. I have the greatest respect for the people who hold the reins of government in this country, but they are not the only ones who hold knowledge. And they are not the only voices that we should be hearing from. But going back to the question of how the information gets out, you know, the caller, Mrs. Orrett, said, well, what's wrong with government spending money to get information out? Well, we're waiting on the information. The question is, you know, I find this really kind of strange because the premier that is in office now is a premier who promoted the Constitution. And look at this, the 1972 Constitution and the companion guide, an explanation to the people of what that Constitution said. And he went on to publish other publications as to what the new Constitution would contain and how it was being developed and who was being involved. It was all out there for the public. I am not saying that that should be done in total for the referendum, but it would be nice to have had something that the people could hold in their hand and say, this is the explanation of what government is doing. We don't have it. And at the same time, we are in the position where we're still waiting on the information. I am still waiting on information as to how we are going to manage the development of that port. Since they've already granted the contract, how we're going to manage the development of that port and how we are going to determine that referendum when all the signatures have been verified, because we do not have a referendum law. And that WhatsApp just said, well, if we had it, CPR wouldn't have this, this, and this. Well, if they had it, government wouldn't have this, this, and this either. The fact of the matter is the law would put the framework out there and everybody would know precisely when they embarked on a referendum, this is the process we should follow.
Okay, Ms. T?
Yeah, I don't have much to add with respect to the comments that Ms. Mayer made, because she pretty much summed up some of my thoughts. But the government is not the only body that is forward-thinking. The government is not the only body that has a view. We have a view as well. And by we, I don't mean necessarily the four of us in this room, but I meant we as the broader and wider community. And, you know, a lot of the misconceptions could be shelved if there were real conversations between both quote-unquote sides, meaning that real sensible conversations being had between the government and those persons wanting to have all the information so that they can make informed decisions. Steve?
I put a blame on a lack of education, partly also in our opposition. Because I believe that a weak opposition also allows the majority of front bench to perform without proper checks and balances.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And a weak opposition and a developing elected party system, government, does a disservice to the electorate because it allows a path of maladministration. What we are doing today, they should have been doing in their constituencies. I also believe that the opposition, as they stand today, they should wake up from their hibernation and realize that political manna doesn't actually fall from the sky. They have to go out and do the work that we pay them for also. We criticize the government. I also criticize them. But I also want to concur with my colleagues here that we cannot deny that change is occurring all around us and more change will come. That is inevitable. That's going to happen. But it's our duty to dictate how that change will affect us. Will it be beneficial or destructive? And only you, me, and us can make that decision, that significant decision. I would like to say that suppressive information kills democracy, but education and edification overcomes personality politics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We still have about another 2 minutes, Madam Speaker. Back to you.
I'm glad Dr. McField brought up the question of the opposition. You know, when government comes forward with something, it is the opposition's duty to make sure the other side comes out, is heard. And not just on the floor of Parliament, but in their constituencies, in their districts. But we have left with this one man, one vote, and I'm going to use Button Town particularly because I live there, where the district's business is being neglected. We don't have a district council that's going to have an overall view of the four people we have elected in these little constituencies. They manage your little constituency, but the business of the district is being neglected. And we have this in the House. We have the opposition fragmented. We're independent, and everybody has a view. But the view is not coming out to the public where the public can say to them, well, tell us what the story is on the port. Mm-hmm. Did you have government met with you and given you the details, even an outline of what the port's business is going to be all about? Tell us. Share that information with us. If they haven't given it to you, we are telling you, go back there and get that information for us because we want it. But that's not happening because the district councils is one of the things that has never been put in place. And the little individual constituencies are ruled by their little individual
committees.
No, we don't even have committees. Yes. By the individual member. Mm-hmm. The shots are being called by the individual member, and there's no holistic approach to the business of the community and the business of the district. And so we are left where we have 19 little pieces of the pie on the table, and nobody knows what to do with it. We have government has the biggest share of the pie. Government will always have their way. but the opposition must have their say. And until they learn to speak with one voice, we are always going to have the position we're in right now.
Yes.
Let me tell you something, and I heard that person from Canada. I wish whoever it was would come down. I could give him a history lesson or two. In the 1976 government, we had one voice of the opposition, Anna Hulda Bodden, the lone woman in the House. And believe you me, when she stood up, like she told them, I have all my family under my hat. I am speaking for the people of this country. And when she spoke, everybody listened. We have lost that touch in our parliament. We have lost that ability to put the facts out there where the people can see and hear and understand it. And so there is so many things impacting this referendum that we're talking about now. There's so many different things impacting it that I am still waiting to see how without a law, without legislation, without a policy, without something that the people can pick up and hold in their hand and says, oh, we did A, B, C, D, now it's time to do E. Okay. There is no thing that lays out the steps that we are going to follow. No document.
One of our listeners says, good morning. Thanks for info you all are giving us. Thank you for making us know the real information. Days like today, we need more time so we can know more. Folks, I want to thank you. I want to thank my panel. And folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate toward the charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dweeny Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. Fidelity Bank, for all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.